She walked through the front door at 11:47 p.m. I know the exact time because my system logged it. My system didn't just log it, it breathed it. I heard the deadbolt slide back through my headphones before I even looked at the monitor. Code 4821. Jessica. The code I'd set up for her on our 3rd anniversary. The QuickSet smart lock on the front door sends a timestamp to my server every time someone enters a code. Her code, 4821, hit the lock at 11:47 and 13 seconds. The door opened. The hallway motion sensor triggered the entry cam. And my phone, sitting on the desk 6 feet from where I was sitting in the basement server room of my own house, lit up with a notification. I looked at the feed. There she was. My wife. In the hallway of the house I designed, built out, and wired with 37 connected devices across 3 floors. The house that I paid for. The house that was still, legally, contractually, and in every way that matters, mine. She was not alone. There was a man behind her. Tall. Leather jacket. The kind of jacket that costs either $40 or $4,000 and either way is trying too hard. He had his hand on the small of her back. Not a friend hand. Not a, let me get the door for you hand. A hand that had been there before. A hand that was comfortable. He walked in like he owned the place, oblivious to the fact that he was walking into a digital spiderweb I'd been weaving for a decade. Jessica had told me, told our attorneys, told the mediator, told my face across a conference table 3 weeks ago, that there was no one else. That this separation was about growing apart. That she needed space to figure out who she was outside the marriage. She was figuring it out in our hallway with a man in a leather jacket at 11:47 p.m. And she had no idea that the house she just walked into was watching. Not because I had set a trap. I need you to understand that. I was in my own house. Doing my own work. In a room that I built with my own hands. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't stalking. I was sitting at my desk in my basement server room running a diagnostic on a client's network security system because that's my job. I'm a security consultant. I design, install, and manage integrated security systems for high-end residential and commercial properties. And the house I live in, the house Jessica and I shared for 6 years, is the most comprehensively monitored smart home in a 50-mile radius. Because it's my showroom. My demo unit. My proof of concept. Every door, window, thermostat, speaker, lock, camera, light switch, and motion sensor in that house is connected to a central server that sits in my basement. The server I was sitting next to when my wife brought another man home. She didn't know I was there because she never came to the basement. In 6 years of marriage, Jessica had been down those stairs maybe 4 times. She called it the dungeon. She hated the hum of the servers. She hated the blinking lights. She hated the temperature. I keep it at 64 degrees for the equipment. But tonight, for the first time in 6 years, I was grateful for every single thing she hated about that room. Because it meant she wouldn't check. She would walk right past the basement door and go upstairs with her friend, and never know that her husband was 12 feet below her, watching everything on a 9-inch monitor. Now, before I tell you what happened next and what I did with the house and what the cameras recorded and what my lawyer said when I showed him the footage, I need you to subscribe. I'm dead serious. What I'm about to describe is a legal chess match played with smart home technology, a morality clause, and a wife who didn't read the separation agreement carefully enough. If you want to see how this ends, subscribe and hit that bell right now. Because this story gets technical, it gets satisfying, and it gets very, very quiet. Let me tell you about the morality clause. My name is Leo Vasquez. I'm 38 years old. I've been a security consultant for 14 years. Before that, I did network infrastructure for the Department of Defense. I have clearances I can't talk about and skills that most people only see in movies, except mine actually work and don't involve dramatic typing on keyboards while someone yells, "Enhance." What I do is quiet work. Precise work. I install systems that watch without being seen. I build networks that record without announcing. My clients are people who want to know what happens in their spaces when they're not there. Corporate offices, luxury homes, warehouses, server farms. I make things invisible and reliable. I am professionally a ghost. And that's exactly what I became in my own house. Jessica and I met 7 years ago. She was an events coordinator for a luxury hotel chain. Beautiful, sharp, socially fluent in a way I never was. She could walk into a room of strangers and leave with 12 new contacts and 3 dinner invitations. I could walk into a room of strangers and find the security vulnerabilities. Different skill sets. We got married fast. Probably too fast. Within a year, the friction started. I worked late. She wanted date nights. I worked weekends. She wanted getaways. I built out the smart home system during what she called our honeymoon phase, and she saw it not as professional development but as evidence that I loved my servers more than her. Maybe she was partially right. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I was a perfect husband. I wasn't. I was present but not available. In the room but not in the conversation. Physically there, mentally debugging code. That's a failure. My failure. But here's where the road splits. Because when things got hard, I suggested counseling. She suggested separation. I asked for 6 months to try. She asked for a lawyer. The separation agreement was drafted in March. Both attorneys. A mediator. The works. And buried on page 14, clause 7.3 subsection B, was a standard morality clause. In plain language, a morality clause in a separation agreement states that neither party shall engage in romantic or sexual relationships with third parties during the separation period, particularly within the shared marital residence. Violation of this clause can affect the terms of asset division, spousal support, and in some jurisdictions, be considered relevant to claims of marital misconduct. Jessica's attorney inserted the clause. Not mine. Hers. Because she wanted to protect herself in case I moved on first. She told the mediator, and I remember this exactly, I want to make sure neither of us does anything reckless during this process. Neither of us. She signed it. I signed it. Page 14. Clause 7.3b. Her signature in blue ink right next to mine. And now she was upstairs with a man in a leather jacket in the house covered by that clause, and every camera, microphone, and sensor in the building was doing exactly what I built it to do. Recording everything. I didn't plan this. I want to say that again. I did not plan this. I was running a client diagnostic. I was eating cold pizza at my desk. I was wearing the same hoodie I'd been wearing for 3 days. This was not a movie setup. This was a Wednesday. But when the universe hands you evidence on a plate you built yourself with cameras you installed yourself in a house you own, you don't look away. You press record. Here's what I need you to understand about the house. This isn't a Ring doorbell and a smart thermostat situation. This is a fully integrated security ecosystem. I designed it from the ground up as a demonstration model for my business. Potential clients come to this house and I show them what a comprehensive residential security system looks like. The house has 12 cameras. Interior and exterior. Motion activated. Night vision. Cloud-backed and locally stored on my server simultaneously. Smart locks on every exterior door in the garage. Keypad entry with individual codes. Every entry and exit time-stamped and logged. A Sonos integrated speaker system covering all 3 floors. Controllable from my phone or the server. Smart lighting in every room. Hue bulbs. Individually addressable. Dimmable. Color changeable. Smart thermostat. Zone controlled. I can set the living room to 72 and the bedroom to 55 independently. A security panel with a silent mode. No audible alerts, just server-side logging. And one thing Jessica never knew about, a backup audio recording system integrated into the smoke detectors on the main floor and upper level. Legal in my state for security purposes within a property I own. I'd installed them 2 years ago after a break-in attempt on a client's home made me realize I needed acoustic monitoring in addition to visual. Everything feeds into the server in the basement. My server. My house. My data. I sat in my chair and watched the hallway camera feed as Jessica led leather jacket man into the kitchen. She turned on the lights, my lights, and opened the fridge, my fridge, and pulled out a bottle of wine, my wine. She poured 2 glasses. They talked. Laughed. His hand went back to the small of her back. Then her waist. Then they moved to the living room. I switched camera feeds. Living room. Camera 7. Mounted in the corner near the ceiling, disguised as a smoke detector housing. Wide angle. Clear image. Night mode wasn't even necessary, she had turned on the floor lamps. They sat on the couch. My couch. And I watched the man I was told didn't exist make himself very comfortable in the life I had built. Now here's where I made a choice. And I want to be honest about this choice because it's the reason this story goes where it goes. I could have walked upstairs. Confronted them. Made a scene. Thrown the guy out. Screamed. Done what most people would do when they find a stranger sitting on their couch with their wife's head on his shoulder. I didn't. Because I'm not most people. I'm a security consultant. I don't react. I document. I collect. I build cases. That's what I do for clients who are dealing with corporate espionage, employee theft, insurance fraud. And right now, in real time, I was watching a violation of Clause 7.3b unfold on my own cameras. So I did what I do. I created a new evidence folder on my server. I labeled it with the date. I began tagging camera feeds with timestamps. I let the smoke detector audio capture the conversation. Names, details, plans. Every word going straight into a WAV file on a drive that was backed up in real time to an encrypted cloud server. And then, and this is the part where I admit my humanity got the better of my professionalism, I started playing with the house. Not dramatically. Not horror movie style. Subtle. The way a security consultant would. Because I wanted to see how she'd react. And because, honestly, after 6 years of building the system and having Jessica call it obsessive and creepy, and the reason you don't have real friends, I wanted to show the house what it could do. First, the thermostat. I dropped the living room temperature from 72 to 61 over 10 minutes. Slowly enough that they wouldn't notice the change immediately. Just enough that she'd reach for a blanket. Or move closer to him. Either way, more footage. Second, the lights. At 12:15 a.m., I dimmed the living room floor lamps by 30% over 5 minutes. Again, imperceptible in real time. But it created a mood shift. She looked up at the lights, then shrugged, then went back to her conversation. Third, and this one I'm not proud of but I'm not sorry about either, the speakers. At 12:22 a.m., I pushed a single audio tone through the living room Sonos. Not music. Not a voice. A low, barely audible hum at 80 Hz. Below conscious perception for most people. Just enough to create a feeling of unease. It's a frequency that triggers a primal fight or flight response. I watched through camera 7 as he rubbed his arms, looking around my living room like he just stepped into a haunted house. He was right. It was haunted by me. A vibration in the chest. The kind of sound that makes you look over your shoulder without knowing why. Leather jacket shifted on the couch. Does this place always feel this weird? He asked. Jessica laughed it off. It's an old system. My husband was obsessed with tech stuff. She spoke about me in the past tense while sitting in my present. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a husband and started feeling like a predator. I smiled. And I kept recording. If you want to see how this legal trap closes, because it does close and it closes hard, make sure you're subscribed. Because the next part involves my lawyer, a conference room, and a USB drive that changed the entire divorce. They stayed for 3 hours. 3 hours of footage. 3 hours of audio. 3 hours of time-stamped, server-logged, cloud-backed evidence documenting exactly who was in my house, what they were doing, and how comprehensively Jessica had violated the morality clause she herself had requested. I won't describe what happened in detail because this isn't that kind of channel. But I will tell you what the cameras recorded in terms that matter legally. Physical intimacy between Jessica and a man who was not her husband in the marital home, during an active separation governed by a signed agreement that specifically prohibited this behavior. At 2:30 a.m. they went upstairs. To our bedroom. The bedroom camera was not active. I had disabled it months ago when we were still cohabitating because I'm not that guy. But the hallway camera caught them going in. And the smart lock on the bedroom door? Yes, even interior doors in my demo house have smart locks. Logged the door closing at 2:31 a.m. and not opening again until 6:14 a.m. 3 hours and 43 minutes. Logged. Time-stamped. Backed up. At 6:14 a.m., the hallway camera caught leather jacket leaving the bedroom, going downstairs, putting on his shoes, and exiting through the front door. The lock logged his departure. Jessica's code was not used, she had given him the guest code. The guest code I had set up for client demonstrations. She had given a stranger access to my house using a code that was part of my business infrastructure. At 6:30 a.m., I heard the shower turn on upstairs. Jessica, showering in my house after spending the night with another man on my sheets. The water heater, also smart, also logged, recorded the usage. I sat in my chair. I had not slept. I had not moved except to refill my coffee twice. I had 19 tagged video files, 4 hours of audio, and a comprehensive log of every door, light, lock, and sensor event from the previous 7 hours. I picked up my phone and called my attorney. His name is Raymond Park. Korean American. Mid-50s. Former prosecutor. The kind of lawyer who speaks softly and carries a briefcase full of dynamite. Ray, I said. I need a meeting. Today. What happened? Clause 7.3b happened. And I have everything on camera. Silence. Then, how comprehensive? Ray, I built the system. Another silence. Then a sound I had never heard from Raymond Park in 4 years of knowing him. He laughed. Come to my office at noon, he said. And bring the drive. Raymond's office smelled like old leather and printer toner. He had a conference table that could seat 12 but it was just the two of us. Me on one side. Ray on the other. and between us, a single black USB drive. That little black piece of plastic didn't just hold video. It held the deed to my future. It was the heaviest thing in the room. "Walk me through it," he said. I walked him through it. Every camera, every timestamp, every log entry, the front door code, the guest code she gave, leather jacket, the hallway footage, the living room footage, the audio from the smoke detector mics, the thermostat logs, the lock logs, the water heater usage report showing the morning shower. Ray listened without interrupting. He took notes. Small, precise handwriting. When I finished, he put his pen down and looked at me. Was she aware of the cameras? She lived in the house for 6 years. She saw me install them. She's been on camera tours with clients. She signed a household disclosure when we bought the home insurance policy listing all security equipment. The audio recording, state law? Single party consent state. I'm the homeowner. I'm the consenting party. The system is documented in our home insurance filing and in the smart home disclosure on our property records. Ray nodded slowly. And the morality clause? Page 14. Clause 7.3b. Her attorney drafted it. She signed it. Blue ink. Ray picked up the USB drive. Turned it over in his fingers. Leo, in 22 years of family law, I have never had a client hand me a morality clause violation documented by a professional-grade security system installed and maintained by the client himself. He set the drive down. This changes everything. Asset division. Spousal support. Everything. She violated the clause in the marital home with documented evidence that she cannot dispute, captured by a system she knew existed, in a house you legally own. What do we do with it? I asked. We request a meeting with her attorney. We don't file anything yet. We don't threaten. We simply request a meeting, bring the drive, and let them see what's on it. And then we let her attorney explain to her what Clause 7.3b means now. And if she fights it? Ray smiled. The kind of smile that prosecutors develop after years of watching people realize they've been caught. She won't. Not after she sees the footage. Not after her attorney sees the footage. The question won't be whether she fights. The question will be how quickly she settles. He was right. The meeting happened 9 days later. Same conference room setup. Jessica's attorney on one side, Raymond and me on the other. Jessica wasn't present. Her attorney watched the footage on a laptop. 19 minutes of selected clips. Time-stamped. Logged. Cross-referenced with the separation agreement. Her attorney asked for a recess after 7 minutes. He came back 15 minutes later and said 4 words that I'll remember for the rest of my life. What are your terms? Now I need to pause here. Because this is the moment. The hinge. Everything in this story has been building to what I said next. And if you're not subscribed, you're going to miss the most satisfying sentence I've ever spoken in a conference room. Subscribe. Right now. Well, all notifications. Because this is the one. I want the house, I said. That was it. That was my term. Not half. Not a percentage. Not equity minus depreciation divided by whatever formula divorce attorneys use to make houses into math problems. The house. Full ownership. Clean title. No buyout. No lien. No lingering claim. The house I designed. The house I wired. The house that recorded every second of her betrayal with the precision of the man who built it. I wanted it back. Completely. Permanently. Her attorney blinked. That's, Mr. Vasquez, the property is valued at approximately $1.4 million. Your client is proposing. I'm proposing that my client retains full ownership of the marital home in exchange for waiving spousal support claims and not introducing the 7.3b evidence into formal court proceedings, Raymond said. Come. Measured. Surgical. Translation, give me the house. I won't show the judge what your client did in it. Her attorney asked for another recess. This one lasted 45 minutes. He came back. Sat down. Opened his folder. My client accepts the terms with modifications regarding the timeline of. No modifications, Raymond said. These terms? This meeting. Today. Silence. Then, agreed. I signed 3 documents. Jessica signed 3 documents, remotely, through her attorney. She never came to the office. She never faced me. She never had to sit across a table and look at the man whose house she violated, whose trust she shattered, whose security system she dismissed as obsessive and creepy. The house was mine. Free and clear. 2 weeks later I changed every lock code. I updated every camera. I reset every sensor. I reformatted the guest access system. And I stood in my living room, My living room, nobody else's, and I listened to the silence. Not the silence of loneliness. The silence of a house that was finally just mine. Clean. Secure. Exactly the way I built it. People ask me if I feel guilty about the cameras. About using my own system against my wife. About sitting in the basement while she was upstairs making the worst mistake of her divorce. No. I don't feel guilty. I feel accurate. I built a security system. It did its job. It recorded what happened in my house. It documented a violation of a legal agreement. It provided evidence that my attorney used to reach a fair settlement. Every piece of equipment in that house was legally installed, legally disclosed, and legally operated. Jessica knew about the cameras. She chose to ignore them. She assumed I wasn't there. She assumed the house was just a house. It wasn't. It was my best work. And it did exactly what I designed it to do. It told the truth when people were lying. Jessica moved to another city. I heard she's with Leather Jacket. I don't know his name and I don't care. He can have the woman who called my life's work creepy. He can sit on whatever couch she buys next with whatever wine she picks and feel comfortable. I've got the house. As for Marcus, wait, no. I don't even know if that was his name. The Leather Jacket guy. He's irrelevant. He was a prop. A guest code using, couch sitting, morality clause violating prop. He didn't matter then and he doesn't matter now. What matters is this. I spent 6 years building a system that my wife despised. She called it obsessive. She called it creepy. She said it was the reason I didn't have friends. She said I loved my servers more than her. And in the end, in the absolute, final, legally binding end, that system is the reason I kept my house. The thing she hated most about me turned out to be the thing that saved me. There's a lesson in that. For anyone who's been told that their obsession is too much, that their work is weird, that their focus is unhealthy, that the thing they build alone in a basement at 2 a.m. is a waste. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's the thing that catches someone in a lie on a Wednesday night and hands you a $1.4 million house. Build your systems. Trust your instincts. And never, never, assume you know who's watching. If this story made you check your smart home settings, or made you appreciate the quiet obsessive builders in your life, hit like, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear that being too technical is not a flaw. It's a superpower. And if you're going through something right now, a separation, a betrayal, a moment where someone you trusted is making you feel like everything you built was pointless, hear me. The system works. Your system. Whatever you built. It works. Trust it. I'll see you in the next one.